British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon. My name is Sophie Hansen, and these are your afternoon headlines to 3 o'clock. The president of the local union representing Handy-Dart workers says mediation at the Labour Board with its employer Transdev closed after 8 p.m. last night. Transdev says it needs several days to consider the union's last proposal. Joe McCann, president of the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1724, says Transdev informed the union through the mediator that they wouldn't be able to meet and provide a counterproposal until later this week. Another rally is expected tomorrow outside of the TransLink office in New Westminster. Calgary's mayor says every skipped toilet flush over the next 2 weeks will matter as repairs on a troubled water main nears the finish line. Jody Gondek says a treatment plant in the city's southwest has been picking up the slack during the water main outage and would be a dire situation if that were to go offline too.
It is a matter of if something breaks at the Glenmore facility and we either have to shut down that facility or we have to shut down a significant portion of the production, we will be immediately plunged into emergency conditions.
Repairs on the Bearspaw South feeder main are expected to be completed as scheduled on September 23rd, with water use restrictions easing 3 days later. Now, a judge has sentenced 2 men involved in the 2022 Coutts border blockade to 6.5 years in prison. Last month, a jury found Anthony Olenek and Chris Carbert not guilty of the most serious charge, conspiracy to murder police officers. They were convicted of public mischief over $5,000 and possessing a firearm dangerous to the public's peace. Olenek was also convicted of possessing a pipe bomb. The border blockade was one of several held across Canada to protest COVID-19 restrictions. In BC, Wildlife Services says crews are responding to a wildfire located about 30 kilometers east of Wells. The fire can be seen from Ghost Lake Road recreation site, while no structures or communities are affected by this fire. Authorities are on standby as the fire continues to burn more than 123 hectares in size. Now, in more wildfire news, about 10,000 people are facing mandatory evacuation orders in response to a fast-spreading wildfire in Southern California. The wildfire started last week and grew rapidly over the weekend, prompting California Governor Gavin Newsom to declare a state of emergency. The cause of the initial fire is still under investigation. Now, renters here in Gibson, BC can expect new additions to the housing market as early as 2026. Reporter Alessio Casana has more on what's to be expected after the project's completion.
The town of Gibsons will be the newest place to get rental homes after BC Housing announced more than 70 rental homes are being built as part of the Phase 2 project. This phase is delivered by BC Builds, a new project that works in partnership with non-profit groups, local governments, launched earlier this year, and its goal is to speed up home delivery by using low cost and financing. Phase 2 also includes a child care center for children who are 30 months to school age. The center comes from the almost $2.9 million through Child Care BC's new Spaces Fund. Construction is expected to be finished in early 2026. Alessio Cusano, BCIT's The Grow.
Alessia joins us now in studio. Thank you for coming. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome, Alessio. So can you tell me a little bit more about BC Builds and their strategy to produce low-cost rental units?
Of course. So BC Builds launched in February of this year, and their goal is to reduce inflation, cost of land, and construction and high interest rates. And as I mentioned, to make building rental homes less challenging, they use low-cost land and high financing to speed up the time it takes from concept to construction. Once their projects are complete, BC Build's target is for middle-income households to spend no more than 30% of income on rent.
So then why Gibsons? Why is it an ideal place for these rental homes?
So the Sunshine Coast is currently experiencing a big housing shortage, so Gibson is a great place for these rental homes and childcare centers so that everyone has a secure and affordable home within the community.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Canadian Medical Association has released a new report outlining how more than 6.5 million Canadians are still without a primary care physician. The group says surgical backlogs are still substantial, in Canada, while the human health resource shortage is overwhelming. Association President Josh Reimer says, quote, enhanced accountability is crucial to successfully implementing durable changes in our healthcare system, end quote. The association is calling for more tracking of healthcare funds after the federal government signed agreements with all provinces and territories. Now, in some sad news, mourners packed a Philadelphia church for the funeral of a prolific hockey players and brother duo, Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. ABC reporter Brian Clark has more on how the families are grieving this great loss.
Meredith Gaudreau told the tearful mourners her husband John would not have wanted to live a day without his brother Matthew. The two were killed August 29th while cycling in New Jersey. They were hit by an alleged drunk driver. During her eulogy, Meredith Gaudreau also surprised the mourners.
I'm in my 9th week of pregnancy with our 3rd baby. A total surprise, but again, John was beaming and so excited.
Matthew Gaudreau's widow is also pregnant with the couple's first child. Brian Clark, ABC News.
The brothers will continue to be celebrated both online and in person. Palestine has shared a draft UN resolution that demands Israel end its unlawful presence in Gaza and the West Bank within 6 months. It follows a July ruling by the top United Nations court that says Israel's presence in the Palestinian territories is unlawful and must end. Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, denounces the draft resolution and called for it to be rejected and described it as, quote, a reward for terrorism, end quote. The Palestinian draft resolution, if adopted, would not be legally binding. It demands that Israel comply with international law, including by immediately withdrawing all military forces from the territories. Months after being convicted of 4 counts of sexual assault, former Canadian fashion designer Peter Nygard has been sentenced to 11 years in prison. The decision was made earlier today at the Ontario Superior Court Justice Robert Goldstein. In November, a jury found Nygard guilty of 4 counts of sexual assault. He was found not guilty of an additional count of sexual assault and 1 count of forcible confinement. As Canadian press reporter Sonia Puzik explains, the judge didn't mince words when bringing down his sentence.
He called Peter Nygard a sexual predator. He called him a Canadian success story gone very wrong. The judge also dismissed some of the letters that Nygard had provided to the court that purported to be from people who knew him and who spoke highly of him. The judge took them into consideration, but he basically said these letters just made meaningless observations about Nygard not acting a certain way towards women.
Nygard's lawyer had argued for a 6-year sentence, citing the 83-year-old's age and poor health, while the Crown sought a sentence of 15 years. His lawyer says he will be appealing the convictions and the sentence. Disgraced media mogul Harvey Weinstein has been rushed to a New York City hospital from jail. ABC reporter Derek Dennis has more on the story.
Harvey Weinstein, who's been jailed in New York City's Rikers Island detention facility, had to be rushed to Bellevue Hospital for emergency heart surgery. Sources tell ABC News he was experiencing chest pains. The emergency comes as Weinstein is due in court this week in New York, where prosecutors have been working to secure a new indictment against him on sex crimes charges. Weinstein's current conviction is for rape with a 23-year sentence, but he's facing a retrial in November after a New York appeals court ruled he did not get a fair trial. Derek Dennis, ABC News.
His current status is unknown. In some breaking news, we've just received iconic film, TV, and theater actor James Earl Jones has died at the age of 93. He was well known for his role as the voice of Star Wars villain Darth Vader and Disney's Mustafa in The Lion King. Now for weather in Burnaby, rain is expected later today with temperatures at a high of 21 and a low of 15. That has been your news updates to 3 o'clock. Sophie Hansen for BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
The Washington Commanders offense, led by coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, struggled on Sunday. My question, how does Kingsbury keep getting jobs? Kingsbury was a college head coach for Texas Tech from 2013 to 2018.
Members of the Victoire de Montreal, Jen Gardner says she is excited about her new team's name
and logo.
I really thought it was cool how they stuck with something French, the victoires, and I mean, I'm going to have to work on saying it probably, but yeah, I thought it was cool and how they had a meaning for each piece of the logo and how it all kind of came together to represent Montreal. That was just really cool and clearly well thought out, which each team had that for their respective city as well.
Players throughout the PWHL, along with Gardner, have been sharing their excitement for the new logos and names by posting all over social media. Jacob Fraser, BCIT's The Crow.
I'm here with Jacob Fraser in studio right now. Jacob, are fans just as excited as the players are for the new team branding across the league?
Thanks, Nick. The reaction has been overwhelmingly positive on social media, with many fans commenting their support on posts made by their favorite teams, and fans are purchasing merchandise from their favorite teams online as well.
Are there any plans right now for PWHL expansion?
At the moment, the PWHL doesn't have any plans set in stone to expand, but according to PWHL board member Stan Kasten, they will be hosting neutral site games at different NHL arenas throughout this upcoming season to explore other markets.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
To the soccer pitch. On the heels of a 2-1 win over the U.S. on Saturday, Canada takes on Mexico in Arlington, Texas in a men's soccer friendly tomorrow. Canada coach Jesse Marsh expects a tough test despite the Mexicans' poor showing at this summer's Copa America.
Look, it's been some tough times for the national team, and part of it is that there's a lot of expectation to live up to in the country. But make no mistake that we are expecting a very good team, an organized team, a team with more energy and more commitment, especially with a new manager, to show that these players want to be involved in the long-term project.
Moving on to the gridiron, we have an update on Tyreek Hill's detainment from yesterday. Miami-Dade County Police released a statement in which they said Hill did not fully comply with officers' instructions. They stated this is what led to the Miami Dolphins star being handcuffed and placed face down on the street outside the team's stadium. Hill has yet to release a follow-up statement. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott has signed a brand new contract worth $240 million. This deal makes him the highest paid player in NFL history. Prescott immediately thanked the organization by taking a break from making it rain dollar bills to making it rain touchdown passes, leading the Cowboys to a 33-17 victory against the Cleveland Browns. Tonight, the New York Jets travel to the Bay Area to take on the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers makes his return to the field after missing all but one drive last season with an Achilles injury. Brock Purdy and the 49ers look to build on their successful season last year, where they lost in the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs. Moving to the Northwest League, the Vancouver Canadians are set to make their third consecutive playoff appearance tomorrow, taking on the Spokane Indians at home in a best-of-5 series. The game begins at 7 tomorrow at Gates Park. In lacrosse news, the National Senior A Championship between the Six Nathan Chiefs and the Victoria Shamrocks is faced with controversy by a policy. The policy in question is the 2 pickup player policy, which would allow the Shamrocks to add 2 players from opposing teams to their roster for the finals. This policy has been in place for years, according to the WAL's website. As the Shamrocks were in the air to Toronto, the Lacrosse Canada Board conducted an e-vote revoking the policy previously passed by 10 of 11 members. The Shamrocks have filed an appeal and hope to be able to add to their 2 pickup players. Those were your sports update to 3:15. I'm Nicholas Hauka, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
1680 The Crow.